All right, welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. Started the show, stopped the show, started the show back. It's been that kind of a night already. It's been that kind of a night. Let's go. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. Soon to open in Petaluma. Check out Pig and a Pickle. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. Also, thank you to Sleeper. You see Sleeper above Raj's head. Quick shout out to our friends at Sleeper. You already know Sleeper for fantasy football and daily fantasy, but they've also rolled out a brand new deal called Team Picks. That's right. Team Picks is built right into the Sleeper app, and it lets you make simple predictions on game outcomes instead of worrying about player stats and setting lineups. You're just choosing which team you think is going to win. It's real basic. It's real simple. It's designed to be straightforward and easy to understand, especially if you like to follow games closely, but you don't want all the extra complexity. So right now, if you're already on Sleeper for fantasy, then you know what? It's right there waiting for you. But if you're new to Sleeper, Sleeper continues to be an all-in-one platform. Following your teams, staying connected to the action. It is all there thanks to Sleeper, and thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. We are off and running. We did start the show and then dumped it for whatever reason. Just fat fingers. What can I say? I apologize. So those of you who had to leave the room and then come back into a new room, what can I say? But we do welcome on Tuesday night the great Raj from RSF 49ers. All right, give it up to Raj. Come on, Raj should get a little bit more than that. All right. Raj, good to see you. How are you handling your Seahawks are the champions of the football world universe?
You didn't have to remind me. I'm doing good honestly, I was fine until you literally said that. I was totally the hell, Larry. Come on, man.
I know. Seriously. What can I say? Well, you know what? Are you the Niners? Why don't we start here? The 49ers currently have the fourth highest odds to trade for Max Crosby.
Do it.
The Crosby situation is interesting because he did a little rap where he kind of fueled the talk that he likes the Bay and that he's going to be traded. What do you make? This guy led the NFL with 14 and a half sacks in 2025, despite playing with a knee injury. According to the sources that I've talked to, Crosby is pissed at the Raiders because they didn't let him play at the end of the year. They were trying to protect their investment. But what's going on here? Supposedly, Crosby wants out. And
I've heard different things. I've heard that he wants out. I saw him on Colin Cowherd a week ago, and he says, "Look, man," he never specifically said that he doesn't want out. He never specifically said that he does want out, but he just says, "I want to play ball." I think he just wants to win. At this point in his career, he's really not been part of a winning team, and if he has to go to another team, I don't think he'd be beside it. But there's always rumors of smoke season, the rap song. I've heard different.
Bought a new house in the Bay, maybe?
No, he didn't. It says a Bay. If you listen to the lyrics closely, he bought a dream house in Vegas last year. He was in town for the All-Star weekend in LA. So he touched down in the Bay to go to LA. People are reading into it the wrong way. I don't know. He played in the Bay when he played in Oakland with the Raiders a couple years. So he's always got love for the Raiders. He's got them tatted on him. He's got a big Oakland tattoo, like Raiders tattoo. So I feel like it's going to take a lot to pull this man out of the Raiders. Now, would I want Max Crosby under the 49ers? Absolutely. I don't care if it takes, a couple draft picks, whatever the case is. The Niners typically don't draft great in the first few rounds anyways. So if we got to do that, we got to do that. But My read on it is everybody's going to blow it up. They're going to smoke it out. It's going to be like Giannis to the Warriors. Everybody's like, oh, my God, Giannis is coming to the Warriors. Oh, my God, Max Crosby's coming to the Niners. It's not going to happen. But would I like it to happen, Larry? Absolutely. Give me Max Crosby to the Niners. Please give it to me.
Okay, let me frame it this way. By the way, I'm looking at the poly market. The Lions are favored to land Max Crosby in the poly market. 35% chance Lions get him.
Probably a good guess.
The Rams, though, are the second choice. Okay, so let me just say this. The Niners have to pick and choose how they want to operate here. If I told you that Max Crosby was going to be a Ram, but the Niners could jump in and prevent it, or that Justin Jefferson is going to join JSN and be a Seahawk, but the Niners could step in and prevent it, who would you rather see them try to make the big deal? Would you rather see, Crosby in San Francisco instead of LA, or would you rather see Jefferson in San Francisco instead of Seattle?
That's tough, man.
Because you can't do both. I mean, let's be honest. You're not going to be able to do both. You might be able to do neither, but if you're going to be able to do this, it's going to be one or the other. And I don't know what the poly market says about Jefferson, but I heard the other day that Jefferson wants to go to either Cincinnati to play with Burrow or go to Seattle to play with Darnold, two quarterbacks he knows. I don't know that.
Man, that's tough. The way I would love Justin Jefferson, but I feel like in this situation, you need defense to keep up with some of these teams, because the Niners defense, they got a new DC. I mean, to get Bosa and Crosby, I know most people are going to probably pick Jefferson, but I feel like the 49ers can figure out offense. I mean, damn, I guess I'd pick Crosby, man. I'd want him to not go to a team to take it. Because listen, if the 49ers don't address their offensive line and we have to play Max Crosby in the division, we're fucking screwed. Like, we're screwed, bottom line. So that's a tough one, Larry. I'd probably lean towards the Max Crosby, prevent him from going to the Rams. Man, can you imagine the Rams getting Max Crosby on that D-line? That'd be disgusting. But because, look, the Seahawks, if you're giving them Jefferson and JS, that's broken. But at the same time, I feel like they'd have to give up something big to get Justin Jefferson. So it's tough, man. I want Max Crosby, because the Niners need defense. Defense wins championships. You need to build this deep. They got nobody on that D-line. I know Nick Bosa's coming off back from injury, but he's coming off a torn ACL, like his second one. How effective is Nick Bosa going to be after his second torn ACL? Give me Max Crosby.
Here's a guy that knows a little something about it. It's Whitworth, the former Ram. Here he is talking probably about Crosby to the Rams. Let's hear it.
So we know our Bengals need some work. If you're the GM, what positions are you targeting to be able to get this roster to where it needs to be?
Well, I think this is a pretty easy one. Defense would be a great place to start. If I'm sitting there going, what do we got to do? We can't miss. This is the most critical year in this era under Joe Burrow, in my opinion, of evaluation from that position in the draft and free agency. How do we add the defensive weapons to take us over? And so if you think back to the beginning of this Joe Burrow run when they got Joe Fitz, don't forget that they got Trey Hendrickson. That's how they got him in free agency. They brought him in, Trey Waynes. They brought in a couple of veteran guys who came about to the Cincinnati Bengals team and brought in a little bit of stability, a little bit of some guys that had been places and won. They were kind of pros, and then they matched them with all this young talent. And I think they need an injection like that this offseason. Is it going after a guy like a DeMario Davis and see if he's available? If it's trading for Max Crosby and something that could be, really needing picks and obviously that'd be a lot of capital trying to figure out how to get that worked out. But that would be the young guy, tone setter, the example for your defense every single day. You got some D linemen there that are young guys who you want to play better. Put one of the hardest playing, best guys that any young D lineman could follow in the world and Max Crosby around them. Pay him the money, spend the draft pick, the 10th pick, send it if you have to. Put the example in the room. So to me, my biggest prediction, Fitz, go get Max Crosby at all.
Now he's talking about the Bengals there, but a lot of what he's saying there, kind of falls in line with the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
What do you?
That was my argument. Like what did the Bengals need? They need defense. They need stability on defense because you look at the Bengals. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow they're gonna put their numbers up. Niners, I feel like they can get another receiver. Shanahan typically never has like that wide receiver one. Now it would be great to get a guy like Jefferson on this offense, but they did it with Juwan Jennings. They've done it with less, right? Now I'm not saying they need to continue that. They still need to make some big moves in free agency. There's a lot of free agents they could get, but man, this defense needs stability. I 100% agree with that. Same take for the 49ers. You got a new DC, get them some weapons, get them some guys on that side of the ball, man. And again, you got some young players on that D line. You'll get a guy like Max Crosby. And again,
Okay.
I don't know what Nick Bosa is going to look like this year. Like, I don't know, man. It's sketchy. It's a little scary thinking about Nick Bosa coming back from a second torn ACL. Now I know he's going to be putting himself in good position and his body's going to be freak shape, but you get Max Crosby, it's going to make his life a lot easier.
I hear you. Here's my thing is that you're going to have to trade a lot to get Max Crosby. You're probably going to have to trade
a lot for Jefferson.
They may not. Well, I know, but I'm just saying, let's just talk about Crosby for a second. For either, either guy, you're going to have to trade a lot. I don't know. I love the idea of having Max Crosby, but I don't know. I mean, I personally, I think that's just would be reckless of the 49ers to spend. I mean, I asked people, earlier, what's it going to take to get Max Crosby? And I heard it's going to take a Micah Parsons deal. Well, that's two number ones. That's two number ones and Kenny Clark. Well, I asked Matt Barrows was asked, I should say. I didn't ask him, but Matt Barrows was asked in his mailbag, what are the Niners willing to pay for Max Crosby? And he said a second-round pick. And I think, you know what? I think that's probably accurate. I think they are probably willing to move a second-round pick. But that's not going to get it done. So here's the other thing.
It's tough.
What do you think of keeping your picks and then waiting? Because I've heard, Barrows thinks that there's a very good chance that Rashawn Gary gets cap casualtied by Green Bay. Well, what if he does? Now you could sign Rashawn Gary, and because he was a cap casualty, there's no draft compensation. He doesn't impact the equation for compensatory draft picks. So it's not like he's not going to cost you, now you're not going to get a couple comp picks. No, he doesn't affect that at all. So to me, I think even though I love Max Crosby, I love Trey Hendrickson. I think they're both really good. I think I would wait around for the Packers to cut Rashawn Gary and save my draft picks and sign Rashawn Gary instead. I'd rather have Rashawn Gary and keep my picks than have Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson and lose my picks. That's where I'm at.
That's a great strategy. If they are going to cap casualty them, that's totally fine. But you kind of have to wait a little bit, and sometimes you get a little bored waiting, and you might make a trade here and there. But if they know they're going to cap casualty them, absolutely, that's a great strategy, Larry. Because Rashawn Gary's a good player. He's a fantastic player. That would be great. And you have the draft picks. The only thing is, again, you got to, regardless, you got to hit on those draft picks. And the 49ers, you've seen their picks, first-round picks. Coach Yak posted their first-round picks over the last couple years under Kyle and John. It's just not a pretty sight, man. And so I don't know if I trust them to draft good in the first round. Now, they have to. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on John Lynch coming into this draft because he really has not done great overall in the draft. I mean, Nick Bosa for sure, but he's also had the injuries. Ricky Pearsall, Michael Williams was good till he got hurt. And then you look around, Javon Kinlaw, Reuben Foster, Mike McGlinchey, Solomon Thomas, bad draft picks, Larry. So they have to hit on these draft picks. So even if you get Rashawn Gary, you got to make sure you deliver with these draft picks, man.
It's funny. I've mentioned this on a couple different streams, but I'm trying to think about what the Niners ought to do. They have so many needs in there, and it's like, where do you start? Do you prioritize the offensive line and new running back and new receivers and new tight end and try to run the ball, compete with Seattle by running it down their throat? They have JSN. There's talk they may go after Jefferson. Do you try to focus on drafting corners and pass rushers? I mean, how do you go about matching up with Seattle? And I just looked at it this way. I just look at the Niners and say, okay, where are they at? They have, like, it kind of reminds me of the Niners where they were at before 81. They had Walsh, they had Montana, but they have Shanahan, they have Purdy, but they were terrible in 80. They won 6 games, they lost 10 because their defense was horrible. So what did they do between 80 and 81? They added 5 just big time defenders: Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williamson, Eric Wright in their secondary, Jack Reynolds at inside linebacker, and then Fred Dean to their front line. And it's like you added 5 truly fearsome defenders. I mean, Wright was a true number 1 corner. Ronnie was a future Hall of Famer. Williamson was an incredibly physical, strong safety. Reynolds was a smart, kind of slow, but a real hammer of a inside linebacker, a former Pro Bowler. And Fred Dean was an awesome player, an incredible pass rusher. So in 1 year, the 49ers, it's like, how did they go from 6-10 to 13-3? How did they go from a nothing team that couldn't stop anybody to a Super Bowl champion? They did it in one off season by adding 5 fearsome defenders to their defense. Okay. And I kind of feel like that's where the Niners need to go. They need to add 5 fearsome defenders, or as many fearsome defenders as they possibly can, to their defense. That leads me to this one. Bleacher Report has the Niners signing Reek Woolen away from Seattle. And they have a write-up on it. I think it's 4 years, $55 million for Reek Woolen. What do you think? I mean, he's a big, dominating 6'4" corner. He can play man. He can play zone. He's had some really good moments. He's had some down moments as well. What do you think? Do you like the idea of Reek Woolen in free agency?
Every corner is going to go through their ups and downs. I feel like he's had some really good moments. Prime away from a rival. I like him. I like his size. Listen, you just said it yourself. Bring in 5 ferocious defenders. You need to build this defense. The secondary is not menacing. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't think that's going to be the end all be all move, but it does help upgrade the position, because I feel like secondary is a weakness, but also at the same time, they were tested a lot more because they didn't have a pass rush. So even if you get a Tariq Woolen, who I wouldn't hate, you still got to address that pass rush, Larry. So 5 ferocious defenders, Larry, but Ronnie Lott's not coming through that. I get what you're saying, but do you trust John Lynch to get you guys of that caliber? That's it, whether it's through the draft or free agency. And that's why I said earlier, this is a pressure cooker offseason for John Lynch. He has to deliver, whether it be trading, whether it be free agency, whether it be the draft. This man needs to do what you just said and give us 5 ferocious defenders. Any means necessary. I don't care if it's the draft. I don't care if it's free agency. They need to bring in that talent. To your point is, yes, bring in some dogs. And I think Tariq Woolen would be a dog, but you still got 4 other guys that you'd have to bring in based on what you're just saying. So, yeah, I would be cool with Tariq Woolen. Upgrade. You're upgrading over Darrell Luter, possibly Green, because I don't know if Kyle Shanahan's really in favor of Renardo Green after last season. They got in a big tiff, I know he kind of walked it back and said everything's cool, but today Brian Baldinger said, hey, look, they need to upgrade over Renardo Green. I feel like Green was not himself last year. He had a lot of injuries. That's the case for most players on this team. I feel like the 49ers, have to be healthy, bottom line, at every position. But maybe you do bring in a guy that's better than Renardo Green and let him compete. Let him go out there in training camp and say, wow, they just brought in that guy. I need to go out there and make myself better. So I feel like, yes, bring in the best talent you can, because it's going to make everybody around them work harder. So, yeah, please do it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if if I could add a couple, there's a couple guys in this secondary. Woolen would be one. The other would be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I've always liked him.
He's just nasty. You add Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as one of your safeties and add Tariq Woolen to your already existing defensive backfield, And I think your secondary is good to go. I really do. And then it's a matter of can you build up the front seven? Now, Dieter went on with Rob Guerrera. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw this.
And we're going to play this and I'll get your reaction. This is pretty strong from Dieter, or not. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, boy.
I mean, I'm a Dieter fan, first of all. I like Dieter. I think he's smart. He's a good guy. He's not out to get anybody. He's a good media person. He doesn't, guess what? He thinks independently. And he's not going to agree with me just for the heck of it. He's not going to agree with, you or Mayoko or Barrows or anybody else. He's got his own opinion, his own sources, and he's independent. I like that. I celebrate that. And I'm a big fan of Dieter's. But he also will piss people off. And we'll see what you think of this. Here it is.
First of all, John Lynch is not a GM. He's not a scout. He has no scouting background. Like, John Lynch was there to shake hands and kiss babies, and Kyle was there to do all the stuff. Now, if Kyle's realizing, hey, these jobs are too big, completely understand. He didn't know what he didn't know, right? Now he does. Well, that's great. Then send John Lynch to Amazon. Let him call the games, get rid of stupid Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels, the worst broadcast combination in the history of the universe, and bring in a real GM. Bring in somebody that's really good. Let Kyle cook the food. Let somebody else shop for the groceries.
There has been conversation about that.
Significant conversation?
Not enough to where it's actually happening, but there has been conversation to that degree. Well, it wouldn't shock me in the next couple of weeks if a hire was made that gave you a pretty clear indication that that's the way things are going.
In the next couple of weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, that is something. Does this happen?
Might not happen, but the conversation, in order to bring this person in, such a delineation, while not strictly prescribed in the hiring, would make it very easy to infer, or very easy to see how such a delineation of John Lynch as president of football operations, fill in the blank as day-to-day general manager, and Kyle Shanahan as head coach and most important voice in the building would fall into place. That does not mean it's going to happen. It does not mean that it is, to my knowledge, imminent. It's just to say that in the conversation on should we bring this guy in, such a delineation would have to informally have take place, because there's no way to bring him in otherwise.
Is that why Al Guido is now CEO?
No, they just wanted to give Al more money.
It's a lot of delineation there. Raj, react,
yeah, so
Raj, react.
When I first saw this, I think a lot of people were starting to, make, assumptions. Some people are saying it's like Trent Baalke. Some people are saying maybe Adam Peters come back.
I think what happened there was that Grant retweeted it.
Yeah.
Dieter wants Trent Baalke or something like that.
Yeah. So everybody started going crazy. And then there's like Scott McClellan. There's just a lot of people making assumptions. And then I think he backtracked his comments today. So to me, at first, I was like,
Who did?
I think Dieter did today.
He did?
Tweets, kind of backtracking a little bit. He was going back and forth. But the other part of that whole my takeaway when I first heard it, I was like, okay. And then I listened to the whole thing, because he's like, well, it could happen, but it couldn't happen. So it was just like him. I feel like it was like, okay, it could happen, but it can't happen. It might not. So it's like me telling you, like, I might come over.
It could happen soon, but it might not be imminent.
Yeah. Hey, Larry, I might come over tonight, but I might not. Like, so he kind of like left it weird. It was like, okay, when he said it that way, I was like, I don't buy a word you're saying. You're just talking to talk. And I don't hate on the guy, but when he said it like that, it was like, well, it could happen, but also it couldn't happen. So he lost me at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. But what if there, John Lynch is scheduled to speak at the Combine.
Can't wait.
In a week, right? Next week. I believe it starts on the 26th or 23rd. He's going to be there talking, I think, on the 25th or 26th.
Okay.
So we're going to hear more about whatever. I don't see there being. I think it's probably going to be status quo.
Yeah.
I personally would love to see them shake it up a little bit. I mean, bring in a talent evaluator consultant, put another set of eyes on it. If we're really confident in what we're doing, then we should have no problem with another set of eyes looking at what we're doing. If we're not confident with what we're doing, then that would threaten us. So I don't know. I mean, I like John Lynch and I like Kyle Shanahan, but there's a lot of misses there.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think someone in the comments said it, like, hire a scout consultant. Like, I know they have scouts, but maybe they're not good enough. I don't know what you got to do, but you got to do something to hit on the draft. I feel like sometimes they just try to get too exotic in the draft. Like, they'll reach out to, like, the most random player. And sometimes the guy on the board that you're, like, screaming at, that guy, he's going to be a star. Like, me and you see it, and then they pass for some guy that we're like, whoa, but he's a good character guy. Like, they take those meetings so personal that he might meet all their criteria in terms of being a person, but they may not be the best player because they're looking for
that's Dante Whitner's argument. That's Whitner.
Yeah.
Whitner's been saying, hey, look, the Niners don't take enough tough guys from Ohio State. They take too many guys from Harvard and Stanford and BYU and Iowa State. And he basically made those guys sound like a bunch of candy asses.
Yeah, honestly, Larry, they get, I'm not going to lie to you, they get some, like, soft candy. Like, I love Ricky Pearsall, and I think he's a great person. But come on, man, you had a chance to get some dogs on that team at that position. And I'm not saying Ricky Pearsall can't be, but shit, man, you could have got who's the cornerback they passed on Philly? You know who it is.
Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, yeah, sorry. They could have got Cooper DeJean. I thought that's who they drafted, and they went and Ricky Pearsall, which you probably could have got him a few picks later. Anyways, I don't know, man. I just feel like they're always reaching for the talent that they fell in love with the person. And Ricky Pearsall is a great person, but sometimes it doesn't always become like great player on the field. Like, you need great players on the field. Sometimes you just see a guy in college and you're like, he's going to be great in the pros. And they pass up the layup picks. They pass up the layup picks like so many times.
I mean, here's the bottom line on this thing. It's like, we're going to question it either way, that we're not, it's like we have questioned it either way. I mean, it's like, think about it. There have been people that openly questioned the Niners not picking James Pierce, who went to Atlanta, and James Pierce like roughed up his girlfriend and now may go to prison. And it's like, well, we wouldn't want that guy on our team.
Yeah, well, and again,
and then if Lynch drafted him, and said, hey, there's some rough spots, but we really like this guy, we'd all be like, look, he keeps drafting bad guys. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. The bottom line is you got to win.
It's tough, Larry, because you're right. They did it with Reuben Foster, and I feel like that spurned them because they traded up. And I remember
Aldon Smith,
yeah, but they didn't draft him. That was already there. But I'm talking about Lynch and Shanahan because they've been burned by players, like, because they traded. That was their first draft. They picked Solomon Thomas because, again, the Stanford. Oh my God, John Lynch fell in love with the guy, whatever. And then, they wanted to build that defense. And then Reuben Foster. I was like, everybody was like, oh wow. Because if you saw him in the national championship game, you're like, this is a freaking monster linebacker. And off-field stuff. And I feel like they were like, dang, man, this off-field stuff, we can't let it happen again. So they really got into the point of, getting into the heads of these players, getting their mental space. Like, who are they as a person? And again, sometimes you draft a player because who they are. They may not be the best on the play. Like, Ricky Pearsall works. I know he works so hard, but his body just isn't handling the NFL. And it's unfortunate because they had a talent of a guy like Cooper DeJean, who you passed on. He's a star. Like, he's a star. I'm not saying Ricky won't be, but it's hard to see him get to that top level when you had this first round pick that you hadn't had in years because you traded them all to get a guy like Trey Lance, and you missed the boat on that one where we know Kyle wanted Mac Jones. And I know back then it was like, oh, we don't want Mac Jones. All the fans didn't. But if they would have just went with Mac Jones and trusted Kyle, probably would have been in a good position. But it's tough because now it's like hindsight. But I don't know. I don't know how much Kyle input has. If he's the guy that needs to be calling the shots, let Kyle call the shots. Let him call the shots.
Well, I mean, it's funny. It's like I love Rob Stats Guerrera, but I mean, there's no. He's inconsistent sentence to sentence. At one point, he's like, "Hey, come on, Lynch is not a GM," and then he's like, "Have Kyle and Kyle should do it all." It's like, well, wait a second. Was Kyle the GM? No. So it's like, and then the next sentence, he's like, "And Kyle needs to hire a GM." Well, what is it? I mean, is Kyle doing it all? Is he not? Is Lynch a bad GM and he's doing it, or is Kyle a bad GM and Lynch is getting blamed for Kyle being a bad GM? We really don't know between the two of them. Personally, I'd love to see the Niners. Let's role play. What would you do? I'm going to make you Jed York.
Oh, okay.
You just went 12-5. But you've fallen behind the Seahawks and the Rams. What are you doing? Are you firing Kyle? Are you firing John? Are you keeping the regime for another year? Are you changing roles? How are you setting up? How are you reacting to the fact that you had a good year this year, but you also had a bad year this year in that you were too thin and too old and too hurt, and two of the best teams in football are in your division. So you're not on top of the football world. So you should not be celebrating or patting people on the back for a job well done. How do you react if you're Jed York to this season?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I say, hey, look, it was a valiant effort. I know we had the injuries, but listen, the bottom line is we got to win the Super Bowl and say, hey, look, we've been through this, 9 years now? There's no Super Bowl to show for it. I'm going to give you guys a year, maybe 2 at most. Figure it out this offseason. Make the moves. You got the money. Let's make the moves. Make some trades. If we need Max, I would say, look, these are the players we need to target. These are the positions. We need to improve this roster. If you guys can't get to where we need to be, we can move on. I know it's a tough situation for people to say. I would put a lot more pressure on Lynch first, because I feel like Kyle, maybe you give him a different GM in a year or two and see what he can do with the different GM. Because because you got to give Kyle his credit, right? The team was depleted. He still won 13 games overall after you won the playoff game. So I would put a little bit more pressure on John Lynch's spot and say, hey, look, man, you need to draft well. We need to bring in the position. We need to bring the pieces in. You're the general manager. What are you going to do to make this team better? What are you going to do to give Kyle the team that he can coach to the promised land? And if it doesn't happen this year, if you regress, you're back in my office next year, and there might be some changes at that point. I wouldn't fire him yet. They did make 12 wins. They did get far. They did, weather the storm. So I'd say, look, dude, this is a make or break for you, John. And Kyle, if we get you a new GM and you can't get shit done, we'll have a talk with you down the line. But I'd put a little bit more pressure on John Lynch.
Yeah. I'm not saying fire anybody, but I do think they need another set of eyes on this thing. Mm. One other thing that I think is kind of interesting that I wanted to talk about as well, and we brought this up today on the radio with Greg Papa, and you actually tweeted about it today. Kirk Cousins put this tweet out. It says, really enjoyed watching Rise of the 49ers, an AMC compelling storytelling account, a head coach, an owner, and players who shaped so much of what football has become. Hashtag Rise of the 49ers. Okay. There's a lot of ways to look at this. On one hand, you could say Kirk Cousins is just a football guy and this is a football doc, and why not? But you know what, Raj? I don't know, man. I grew up a Niner fan. You're a Niner fan. We're Niner fans. It makes sense that we would invest 4 hours of our life into watching Rise of the 49ers. Nobody else who's not a 49er fan probably wants to invest 4 hours of their life, especially if they have over $300 million like Kirk Cousins. I read this as absolutely what I've been saying for weeks, which is the Niners are going to trade Mac Jones, but the Niners don't want, and they would love another reclamation project quarterback, but there isn't an obvious choice.
Yeah.
I think Zach Wilson wouldn't be a bad choice, but they may not see it that way. I think Anthony Richardson may not be a bad choice. A lot of people don't see it that way. The one thing that I'm pretty convinced of is that Kyle Shanahan, the way he coaches like he's thinking that bad things could happen, right? Like when he gets to 3rd and long on his own 10, he doesn't drop back to pass and try to make a play. He does a halfback draw and he punts. Why? Because he knows I'm backed up on my own, inside my own 15, and bad stuff can happen. He's thinking about bad things happening. And I just think that when he thinks of this year, he's got to know that Mac Jones saved his bacon and John Lynch's bacon. Without Mac Jones, if they had Brandon Allen, they may go 0-8 in the 8 games, and they may miss the playoffs, or they may go 3-5 and miss the playoffs. And they definitely wouldn't have been a 12-win team. And the heat on Shanahan and Lynch today in that scenario would be far more significant than it is today. So I think he knows that he learned this year that, God, you got to have a really good backup quarterback. So I think he wants a backup quarterback. I don't think he's going to be happy with Curtis Rourke or Adrian Martinez as his backup quarterback. And then I don't believe Shanahan when he says he's not trading Mac Jones, because as you know and I know, the Niners have a ton of needs and they have to trade Mac Jones. And if they want to do right by Mac Jones, you're going to force Mac Jones to be on the bench when he's good enough to start. I mean, that's not right either. So I think the plan is clear. They're going to say whatever they're going to say, but they're going to trade Mac Jones, and they're going to get a nice little package back of day 2 picks and a player. That'd be my guess. And then I think Kirk Cousins is going to get waived by the Falcons. And I think the Niners are going to sign Kirk Cousins. And I think Kirk Cousins just watched 4 hours of the Niner documentary because he knows he's going to be a 49er, and he needs to be, he needs to know the story of the Niners. Nobody would watch that unless they cared about the story of the 49ers. And why would a guy who has $300 million in the bank like Kirk Cousins, he's made a ton of money, why would he spend 4 hours watching a 49er documentary unless he was going to come here? I think he's coming here for sure. I think they're going to waive him. I think he's going to choose between, do I go to Arizona or the Jets and start, or do I go to San Francisco and back up? And his family is going to say, we want you to go to San Francisco because we don't want you to get killed behind those bad offensive lines. And then he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to San Francisco because what I'm really after is potentially getting a ring. And the only place I could potentially get a ring is in San Francisco compared to these other spots. And I also think the Darnold factor is a major factor. Derek Carr may come out of retirement. NFL quarterbacks that are average, I guarantee you, took notice of an average NFL quarterback winning the Super Bowl, and now they're all dreaming the dream. And I think Cousins looks at this and says, you know what? If Darnold can win the Super Bowl, then heck, I could go to San Francisco and either win one as a backup or maybe even win one if Brock Purdy gets hurt with Kyle Shanahan. I think he plays for the ring now, not the money or the glory. And I think he's going to come to San Francisco because this is his best chance at a ring. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, a couple things about Kirk Cousins. First up, maybe he did just watch it because he's that much of a football fan. Like,
he could
be a football fan, but listen.
4 hours.
He could definitely be. It's
half a day.
Like, listen,
I mean, I'm a football fan too. I'm not watching the Jerry Jones. I watched a little bit of the Jerry Jones thing, but guess what? After about, how about them Cowboys? I had enough.
Yeah, no, I trust me, because I've watched some other documentary and I couldn't finish them. I'm like, I don't care about this team. So you're right. There probably is a little bit of, think about the Niners. And listen, at this point in his career, he's got a lot of money. He doesn't need to be a starter. I mean, I'm sure he would love to be a starter somewhere, but I know now that he's been a backup, I think he's like, okay, I could be a backup. And with the 49ers, what if I do come in and I show myself and show out? Like, maybe I will get a job somewhere else. It still has like maybe 2-3 years left in him somewhere. So I feel like maybe he's thinking about that. But the obvious answer is in our face. Who is his former coach, Raheem Morris? who is another former coach, Kyle Shanahan. They're both on the 49ers. Are you kidding me? If they trade Mac Jones, 100% he's getting a call from Kyle and Raheem, and they're going to say, hey, come be our backup quarterback. We don't need to go get Zach Wilson. We don't want to get anybody else. We want you. You can train Curtis Rourke and sit and learn behind Brock Purdy. It's obvious. It's Kirk Cousins is coming to the Niners if they trade Mac Jones. I would put a lot of money on that. If it's not Kirk Cousins, I can't tell you who their backup, the reclamation project. We talked about it last week. Maybe Zach Wilson, but Kirk Cousins is an obvious. You plug him in, he'll probably be able to win a few games and manage the game. He's played for Kyle. He's played for Raheem Morris. It would be a smart move for the 49ers if they do trade Mac Jones, because I think they're going to get a haul for Mac Jones, and he deserves to start somewhere. And I know they're going to give us the lip service. We don't want to trade Mac Jones. They also didn't want to get rid of DeForest Buckner, and look what happened. So I think it's going to happen.
Here's the other question. Mac Jones. Let's talk about him for a second. I think Mac Jones is better than Sam Darnold. Now, I know you can look at that and go, well, maybe you would agree with that at some point, but now Sam Darnold's won a Super Bowl. And so now it's like, what? Wait a second. He's not better than Sam Darnold. But come on, we saw them both. Sam Darnold is a guy who's a little bit of a stronger arm, maybe a little bit of a stronger frame. But Jones is a better processor of the field, and he's a more accurate passer. And I think he's a little bit more – he's got a little bit more magic to him, I think, than Darnold. Darnold, I think, is just pretty mechanical, pretty – I mean, he's fine, but he's not winning anything. He didn't win. They won. They had Kenneth Walker. They ran the heck out of it. They had a killer defense. A lot of guys could have won. I'm just saying, I think Sam Darnold's good. I think Mac Jones is better. And if should the Niners, let's just say, we're right, and Arizona wants him, the Jets want him, and the Falcons want him. I've heard that the three teams that want Mac Jones are those three: Arizona, Atlanta, and the Jets.
Oof.
Do you not trade him to Arizona?
No.
Or Atlanta because you're trading. If you think he's better than Sam Darnold,
I'd send him to Atlanta, man.
Would you not trade him? Would you not trade him, period? Or would you not trade him in the division or not trade him in the conference because you think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl with?
I don't trade him into the NFC West, dude. I don't trade him into – because that could be 2 times he beats you, honestly. I'm not going to lie to you. He is a good quarterback. I wouldn't mind trading him to Atlanta. Again, you can get some players from Atlanta, Raheem Morris connection. Then maybe you play him in the playoffs if they make it that far, and then you just have to hope that Purdy outduel him, which is fine. But you trade him to the Jets, man. That's disrespect. Don't trade him to the Jets.
Why?
He doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that, Larry. I'm not sending my guy to the Jets. Listen, man, you're gonna ruin the man's career. I have a heart, and I'm not sending him to the Jets.
He played in that division. He may want to play in that division.
I don't think come on, bro. Nobody wants to go to nobody. The coaches don't even want to be there.
I hear you. It does seem like the wrong thing to do to send him to the Jets, but you got to do what's right for your team.
Give him to Atlanta. Get Drake London. Call it a day.
Ooh, who would you want from Atlanta? Yeah, that's the thing. If you could get one player from Atlanta, I'll tell you who I would like from Atlanta. I'd either want my guy Rook Orororo, which would be great because Niners need a defensive tackle.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind Jalen Walker.
Okay.
How about just Mac Jones straight up for Jalen Walker? Would you do that?
Someone said that you want him to struggle, man. That's
yeah. I want
struggle?
Mac to struggle.
Come on, man. That's career suicide. Let's say career death. They go to the Jets. Come on, man.
I know, but you got to do what's right for yourself.
I know, but I like the guy. If you like him, you don't send him to the Jets, man.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, that's another one. So there's that. Who would you say, if I said to you, you can have one guy out there in free agency or the draft that you could put on the Niners? That's realistic. You can't, not Fernando Mendoza, not somebody who's going number 1 in the draft, but it could be somebody who's a high pick because you could always trade a bunch of assets. So you can have one player in free agency or the draft to add to the 49ers, who's the one player you want to add?
Man, I need the best receiver. Who's the best wide receiver that's going to be a free agent this offseason? Who's the best wide receiver free agent?
Alec Pierce, probably.
Alec Pierce, but they're probably going to franchise tag him.
Maybe Romeo Dobbs.
Okay.
I don't know.
I guess they need a wide receiver, man. They need to figure that
out. I've seen Stephon Diggs may. Somebody said today that Diggs may get.
Then we're going to have to deal with the baby mamas and stuff. We don't need it. Listen, they need a wide receiver in free agency because I don't want them to sit there and waste a draft pick on the first round on a wide receiver. Like, get a wide receiver in the draft, that's fine, but not in the first round. You need an O-lineman. You need an edge rusher. Go get the best available. Honestly, no. Forget the wide receiver. Just go get Kyle Pitts. Go get Kyle Pitts because he's like a wide receiver. He's a hybrid. Go get Kyle Pitts and then worry about the rest of the draft because he kind of checks the box of a tight end, wide receiver. You're going to need a tight end with Kittle coming off the injury. You got the Raheem Morris connection, and he's a great receiving threat. I think in Kyle Shanahan's offense, Kyle Pitts, quit playing with him. Just give me Kyle Pitts.
I like that. I like that one a lot. Not only that, because, Kyle Pitts is a tight end. Even if you franchise tagged him, I think the franchise number is really low. It's $28 million for a receiver, but for a tight end, I think it's like 14 or 12. Kyle Pitts would be great. That would be a great one. I think Kyle Pitts would be a fantastic get for the 49ers. I'm going to say my guy that and I've looked at a bunch of different guys in the draft, but the guy that I just keep coming back to is the Missouri defensive end, Zion Young. He was one of the premier players in the Senior Bowl. He reminds me a lot of Aldon Smith. He's just a great athlete. He's 6'5", he's 265. But he's fast, he's quick, he's strong, he's nasty. I could see him. The Niners need a great player opposite Bosa because Bosa has now gone through multiple surgeries. He can't be necessarily the lead dog. You can't have Bosa be this A and then just fill in with like a B- type guy. You need to have somebody who's maybe going to be the new A. And I think Zion Young opposite Nick Bosa would be like, I've looked at a bunch of different mock drafts and I've thought of a bunch of different ideas, but to me, Zion Young from Missouri would be where I would start. I just think that he's really, really special.
Be a good pick.
We should tell everybody before we get out of here. I guess we already mentioned it, but the Kreuger Show, of course, is brought to you by Sleeper. Quick shout out to our friends at Sleeper. You already know Sleeper for fantasy football and ease, and they're great. You love fantasy, you love Sleeper for fantasy, but they've also rolled out their Team Picks, and Team Picks is built along the same lines. It's right there in the Sleeper app, and you love it. You're going to love this, and you avoid all the complexity. It's designed to be straightforward and easy to use, so check it out. Team Picks on Sleeper. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Kreuger Show. If you're already on Sleeper for fantasy, it's right there waiting for you. And if you're new to Sleeper, Sleeper continues to be an all-in-one platform for all your needs. So check it out. Sleeper Team Picks. Thanks to Sleeper for being a proud sponsor of the Kreuger Show. Also, let's hit our supers. But before we do, we should tell you that our supers are brought to you by our good friends at Habas Law. They will fight to make it right. 1-800-INJURED. HabasLaw.com on the web. They will fight to make it right. Habas Law is a fantastic law firm. If you need a good lawyer, if you want to win, call 1-800-INJURED. Habas Law, great law firm, great personal injury attorneys. My dad was an attorney. My brother was an attorney. My brother is now a judge. And the difference between success and failure in life is having the right attorney. So get the right attorney. Habas Law, habaslaw.com, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right.
I see their billboards all the time, driving all the time to work.
Raj, I forgot my contact lenses, so you're gonna have to read my supers for me today. We only have 5 or 6, so here we go.
Okay, here we go. From Riker Trav, he says, "Fucking Larry, effing Larry, appreciate all you do." What up, Raj? What up, Riker?
There you go. Peace, bro. We got this one.
It says, the Kevin Wood. Would Mike Evans on the Niners be like Devontae on the Rams? Rams use them as a red zone option, and generally they're number 2. Not sure who would be the 49ers number 1, though.
Evans is a nice receiver. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's got great size. I don't know that I could see him leaving. I also just don't think that that's what they need. I think they really could use I think they need a couple things. I mean, I think they need a big receiver like Evans, but I would prefer a younger receiver. The kid Caldwell from Cincinnati is the guy that I really like. And then they also need a burner. Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State is going to run a great 40. They need a burner and they need a big receiver. They need 2 receivers that can complement what they do.
So real quick on Mike Evans, the reports are he is going to explore his options in free agency this offseason. That's why it was brought up, because people are starting to Mike Evans. So
he's a great player.
Mike Evans, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I mean he's a big receiver. He's a big X receiver. He would help them for sure.
Yeah. Jacob Anthony 3260 says under Kyle, Jefferson will be our Rice. Go get a number 1. He would be.
Well, that's the thing. Jefferson is a true number 1 receiver. And I understand the need. I mean, it's like, here's the thing. You draft a receiver in the draft, you're hoping he's going to be a number 1. You get Jefferson, you have a number 1.
You know it, baby.
Yeah, so there is and the Niners have been so bad at drafting receivers that maybe they ought to consider trading for a receiver. But I would go for like an Addison or a Brian Thomas Jr.
I mean, I'd be happy with one of those. I'd be happy. At the end of the day, what you just said before I read this next one, I really love what you said, because you said getting a pure proven number 1 like Jefferson would be better than trusting if they can draft one in the draft. It's the same thing I would think about with some of their offensive linemen. I don't know if I trust them to get like a dog at O-line in the first round or 2. They drafted Mike McGlinchey, right? So that's why it brings me, you asked me free agency earlier, and I know I said Pitts, but my option 2 probably would be Tyler Linderbaum, because if they bring back Jake Brendel and extend him, Niner fans are going to have it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, I mean, my guy Nick Allegretti is a cheaper version of Linderbaum, but I'm okay with Linderbaum as well. I mean, Linderbaum would be a great. I mean, one plan wouldn't be bad. Would be just go get all those Iowa offensive linemen: Bo Stevens, Jennings Dunker, Linderbaum. You can't go wrong with those Iowa offensive linemen. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. Anthony Catania 5330. He says, Larry and Raj, hope all is well. Amazing show as always. Any contracts possible for restructuring, to free up more cap space?
Check out Anthony Catania and, of course, Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles down in Monterey, in Pacific Grove, along the Monterey Peninsula. And Anthony's a great follow on Instagram at Sharp Corners 831 on the gram. Contract restructuring. I mean, you could restructure Bryce Huff. You could restructure Brendel. They've restructured most of the guys that they want to and can restructure. They don't have anybody really that's young that they could just sit there and say, yeah, we want to restructure. I would say maybe Bryce Huff. I've actually seen people say maybe Brendel, but that means you'd extend Brendel. And I don't know that that makes sense to extend Brendel, but Bryce Huff would be the guy that I'd be looking for, just because he does make too much.
Bless you. I heard. Bless you.
He makes $17 million this year. That's too much for Bryce Huff. But if you restructured and gave him maybe a 2-year deal, I think he's going to be good for 2 years. If you could get that cap number more, in the ballpark that you want.
Yeah. I mean, those are options. I know Matt Barrows recently said that Huff is probably going to be he's a casualty candidate. So it's a guy, bless you, that they can maybe move on from because he didn't have that great of a season.
I know.
Now I've heard some reports. I'm not necessarily a report, but I've heard Trent Williams is a guy they restructure him almost every year. You save like $15 million if you were to restructure it or something like that. So I feel like
you
Trent's
could,
but
then you're just making a big dead cap hit for yourself at some point.
Correct.
So it's like, Matt, do you want to do that? I mean, that is a place where you always can get a little money. We got this one here
from Joseph Ernberg, 7381. He's been a member for 6 months, Larry. Shout out to that man. He says, what's up, Larry? I don't think we will make any sort of big moves this offseason. and have a shitty draft. He says this team is never-ending form of torture, a never-ending form of torture.
Keep fighting the good fight. Way to stay positive, Ernberg.
Shitty.
We got this one.
My man, 49ers throwback. What's up, man? He says John Lynch, a top GM. Larry says false. Raj says true. Did I say that John Lynch is a top GM? I did not say that.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, hey, look, it might be time to get another set of eyes on the thing, and I'm open-minded. I mean, I don't want to see them just promote from within because that's groupthink. I'd rather see them go from outside the organization and get somebody and give them control. Give them control. You've done it this way for a decade. I wouldn't fire anybody. I'd say, hey, guys, we've done it this way for a decade. We haven't gotten the ring. Why don't we change the structure a little bit? Kyle, here's $1 million. You just coach. $1 million more. John, here's $1 million. You build consensus and be the face of the franchise. And let's bring in a young, talent evaluator and give him control over the personnel for a few years. And let's see where we're at. And it could be worse, but it could be better. And if it's better, that might be enough to get it done. So, I mean, that's just an idea, but I think it's a good one.
I like that. So you're telling Kyle, shut up and coach. Just shut up and coach.
Just shut up and coach. Not everybody's great at everything, right? Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Raj. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Habits Law. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to our friends at Pig and a Pickle. Raj, I'll give you the final word. What do you got cooking the rest of the week? What do you got cooking the rest of the week? The grind.
Shut up and coach. That's all I want to say for just shut up and coach. That's it.
Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.